I don't quite remember how I got into classical music. Something just clicked, and kind of like, you know, when you have this friend who really wants to like date you, and then like you're not into them, then one day something clicks. I always knew that this was what I was going to do for my life. I was in class one day and some kid was playing piano and I liked the sound of it. So I was like, I think I could do that. And it ended up being something I loved.
Recently, Suzanne realized she is in a minority of those that still listen to classical music. She fears that the music she loves may soon die out.
The audiences aren't getting any younger. If you go to the concert halls, everyone's hair is gray, waves of gray hair.
CD sales and subscription sales for classical music have gone down. 17 orchestras have closed down over the past 20 years, and with the worrisome economy, jobs for musicians may become scarce.
There's definitely a stigma attached to classical music that if you don't understand it, if you don't know how to listen to it, if it doesn't move you to tears, if you don't know the history of it, then it's not for you.
And that's why Suzanne started the Nouveau Classical Project, a nonprofit concert series combining fashion, art, and music. She commissions young and up-and-coming local artists and fashion designers to create pieces inspired by the music. She gives them a recording of the song, and they can make anything they feel matches the music. And then, the fashion, art, and music are combined simultaneously at her concerts. This piece, for example, has the title of the song painted in it, and the image of the woman in bondage can represent the melancholy of the song. She hopes to make the music more attractive to reach younger, newer audiences.
Our multidisciplinary events appeal to young people because it's more of an event than just a concert. People generally find fashion and art more accessible, so I figured if I put two mediums that people are more comfortable with, and then they'll come see the concert, instead they'll get this new experience of listening to music.
There is no choice but to find a way to make music interesting to people who otherwise would never have a reason to attend a classical music concert.
With this past concert the Nouveau Classical Project had, none of the audience members were classical musicians. There were, two that were my friends. And all people could talk about was the music, and that made me really happy. And one of the most, supposedly esoteric pieces, Messiaen's Quartet for the End of Time, we performed last, and that was very risky to put on there. It's very long, it's really heavy, and it's very modern. And so many people came up to me to say that was their favorite piece of music.
One, two, ready, play.
3,000 miles away from New York City is Menifee, California. Population, 75,000. High school marching bands are often kids' first contact with classical instruments and are as ubiquitous as the American flag. Historically, marching bands are America's most popular source of music. Just before the Civil War, there were more than 3,000 bands with over 60,000 musicians. By World War I, they increased to 18,000. For many American youths, exposure to music is on the ball field. Before the Civil War, American music was considered populist, amateur, and served practical purposes. Marching bands played anything from patriotic tunes to symphonic compositions. The terms orchestra and band were often used interchangeably since they both played similar music.
The side we did the Bizet arrangement from Carmen a couple of years ago, and so there are good arrangements that have been good transcriptions for band, but mostly because we don't have an orchestra, I try to bring some of that literature into it, as well as the good band works that we have.
I'm Jen Griffin. I'm a senior at Paloma Valley. I play the flute and I'm the section leader for 2008-2009. My favorite composer would have to be Beethoven. I just love his movements. They're amazing. We played one a few years ago. Well, Beethoven's, especially because he was deaf, you think, oh, this is such an amazing piece of music. How could you do this? This is like a miracle piece of music. So I love how he's it's just so beautifully written, and all the parts, how they combine.
Asika Fu is proof of the bleed over from band to orchestra. She played clarinet in band in California and continued her music onto graduate school. She now teaches piano at her Upper West Side apartment.
I think I have a soft spot for Chopin and Beethoven. Those are the two composers that I can, probably listen to whenever. I mean, when I listen to it, it takes me to another world. It's so sad, but there's always, at the end, there's always some kind of, resolution.
Not only does Asika teach piano, but she is also the assistant director of the New York Youth Symphony. They're at Riverside Church for their orientation day. Hundreds of kids from the tri-state area and around the world auditioned to be a part of this orchestra, and the lucky few who made it are here today for registration.
Chamber music is really, first of all, it's accessible for musicians, meaning if you're a musician, any musician can start their own chamber music group, meaning the more chamber music groups, the more the performances of chamber music are going to be out in the city. And in that sense, I think, that will make it more essentially accessible to, the audience. So in that sense, just by having a program for the youth, specific chamber music for the youth, making it known to them, that in itself, that's educating them, their friends, their family, their parents, and they're exposed to it.
Genuinely intrigued. And from the moment I picked up the violin, I knew I was on a journey that was much larger than I could ever anticipate. And for me, as a 4-year-old, just a little one, I could barely play, but I knew that it was something special to me, and it wasn't just I was playing it for fun. It had meaning to me.
Children who play in marching bands and youth orchestras don't just help keep classical music alive.
It's helping them in life. Some of them will become artists, and some of them will just play music for fun, and they'll become advocates of the arts. But once they get this passion, this bug, it's for life.
And he was very timid and didn't want to try it. And now 5 years later, he's just blossomed into this wonderful classical music, chamber music player. Now he's about to audition for college, so it's really put him on a whole amazing track and exposed him to incredible experiences with incredible musicians. So
I personally believe that music is a great tool for developing the mind, and the whole idea of character and learning responsibility and the diligence that it takes for a person to accomplish something in music, I think helps them in every walk of life.
Well, I look at some of my old friends from middle school, and they dropped out of band, and now they're into like smoking and drugs and stuff like that. Band's like my support system. They're my family, my home away from home. I can always go to them when I have a hard time. And
it's been proven through studies that kids who participate in the arts, especially band programs, are highly motivated students, top level educational level. So it's part of the overall growth as an individual. We have a system where the kids get close to one another. It's a group activity. You have to participate. We're reliant upon each other to make music, to make it the best of our abilities. It promotes group awareness. It promotes all the skills that the kids need to survive in the modern world.
Marching in the band. This is something that comes out of the great American system of being educational pragmatism. The things kids learn from doing music just make them greater minds and bigger people.
With shorter hair and a new venue, Suzanne and her friends are preparing for her second concert. Asika Fu is also helping as production director. She's still taking the multimedia approach, but with new material.
I guess it almost reflects the sound. It's very, it's almost like impressionistic painting. You know, you think of like Claude Monet, everything's sort of blended.
So I'm playing Messiaen's La Colombe. It's the first in a set of piano preludes, and we picked it for its like quasi-impressionistic properties. It's very impressionistic, and as you see, all these paintings around us have that sort of quality, and you know you get a sense of nature when you look at them.
You can kind of see, especially in the brighter paintings, you're like, it's just so in your face, and that really is what Grieg is. It's just really in your face. It's really just, you know, it's not hiding anything.
Yeah.
So who's coming tonight, guys?
I don't know, I think a good amount of people. Love this or navy.
Even people in clothing just have good eyes for what, you know, just what works.
Yeah. Like he was helping me work my costumes here last night.
So, how would you like that sliced?
The audience is arriving. Not all of them are musicians, and they come from all different backgrounds.
Today, the music was inspired by paintings of N.H. Stubbing, whose work is on display here. And also featured tonight is Nicholas K's 2008 Fall-Winter Collection, which the musicians will be modeling while they perform. And as I was looking around at the paintings, and I saw there was a lot of interesting use of color. And a lot of the pieces that are going to be played today have the same kind of use of color.
I think it went really well. Yeah, no, I'm glad with the turnout, actually. We were afraid that, not enough people were going to make it, but, so, good. I was kind of skeptical at first, because, I wasn't sure what to expect. I thought it was going to be really uptight and very sort of, traditional, and it was really good. The pieces were good. I mean, it was cool that they incorporated fashion to it at the same time. It was cool that, it's a small, intimate setting. It was just really good. I was really impressed.
I love it, and I'm hoping for the next one, actually. So I'm looking forward to that.
All of the arts have always been somewhat connected, and they got kind of disconnected in the 20th century, I feel, a little bit more than they should have. But I don't think it's an intellectual thing. I think it's actually, there's tangible connections between. I couldn't say for the fashion because I knew nothing about it, as my hair attests to. But at least the paintings, I could definitely see a clear connection.
I think the classical music world just needs to have faith in everyone, and just we've got to figure out how to bring it to them, but they're definitely receptive to the music.
Whoever said classical music had to be boring?